So in my last video, I talked about one of the cutest Nintendo characters ever, Yoshi, whose games I had never really talked about before. Let's keep that trend going today with talking about one of the only other characters that might be able to rival Yoshi in adorableness, the pink puffball himself, Kirby. I consider myself a huge Nintendo fan, yet for some reason I have yet to make a single video on my boy Kirby. Kirby is the one character who, even if someone doesn't play his games, nobody hates him or even dislikes him. He's easily one of the most universally beloved characters just based on his appearance alone. No one ever questions him, even when he sucks off other guys. Even in his own games. They are some of the most similar games you will ever see, but they are still enjoyed by fans with very little negative reviews. Kirby made his first appearance back in 1992 on the Game Boy for Kirby's Dream Land after being created by everybody's favorite creator of Smash, Masahiro Sakurai. Kirby was actually just a placeholder, but has now clearly become recognizable throughout the entire video game industry. Kirby games are some of the simplest yet most effective games to ever exist. He sucks, he blows, he fights Wispy Woods, rinse and repeat game after game, and it never gets stale. His copy ability makes gameplay one of the most unique from Nintendo games and is way more enjoyable than any power-up in Mario. Every single one of them is fun to use, even when they make no sense. I don't know how screaming at the top of your lungs kills someone, but it's Kirby, so I'll accept it. Kirby then started to combine abilities, and honestly, this is when Kirby peaked because this is the greatest thing ever. I mean, you can become an explosive snowman. There's no getting better than this. I take it back. This is when Kirby peaked. Every game has a slight new addition to make it feel fresh while still retaining the same game style. New abilities, new mechanics, new final bosses. In fact, Kirby is some of the creepiest final bosses I've ever seen for a cute character like this. None of them feel like they belong in the game, but they are still some of the best. Kirby has starred in over 20 games to this point for a variety of different genres. From platformers, to puzzle, to adventure, to even fucking pinball. But of all his games, what is the most unique and arguably the most fun? That would be none other than the only Kirby game to be released on the GameCube. Today, we're taking a look at Kirby Air Ride. Kirby Air Ride was released in 2003 and developed by HAL Laboratory. To this day, it is the only Kirby racing game. The game was originally intended to be a Nintendo 64 release, but it was cancelled very early in development. The game was revised for the GameCube under the title Kirby's Air Land before the name Kirby Air Ride was officially decided upon. This game actually uses the same engine that was used for Super Smash Bros. Melee, which honestly made so much sense to me when I finally found that out. For years playing this game, I always thought the menus, some of the sound effects, and even the menu music were eerily similar to Melee, and I just honestly thought it was a coincidence. Just look at these menus and tell me you can't see the Melee comparison. I also see a bit of the Sonic Riders menu in it too, but maybe I'm going crazy and imagining things. Now, even though this Kirby game is a racing game, it is very different from any racing game you have probably ever played. Unless you've played this game before, in which case you have played a game like this before, but shut up. When you think of a racing game, you most likely think of something like cars, or maybe jet skis, or maybe even pod racers. But what if I told you that in Kirby Air Ride, you get to race on a shooting star? Warp Star to be specific, and there are tons of other wacky, crazy, whatever other adjective you want to use vehicles that you can unlock. Riding a shooting star might already seem crazy enough, even though it makes perfect sense for Kirby, but the controls are what really set this game apart from others. I'm sure most of you have played Mario Kart before, so I'll use that as an example. Mario Kart has pretty simplistic controls. You have a button to accelerate, one for brakes, one for drifting, one for items, a control stick for steering, and that's basically all you need. The creators made it accessible to almost everyone. Well, Kirby Air Ride took that to a whole new level and made it accessible to literally everyone by using only the control stick and one other fucking button. The only two things you need to play this game are the control stick and the A button. I'm not joking. This is the most simplistic racing game you will ever play, and you know what? It low-key controls better than Mario Kart. I know no one will believe me when I say that, but it's honestly true. You use the control stick for steering, for tilting in the air to glide, and it allows you to perform a quick spin by, get this, spinning the control stick to let you attack others. The A button brakes and fills up a boost gauge, which will allow you to gain a boost of speed when you release the button. This is used to help you make sharp turns so you can slow down as you approach it and quickly boost as you turn the corner. The C stick is used to change the camera too, but I've really never had the need to use it though. You can also use either the L or R button for boosting and the control pad for steering, which I tried for this video, and holy shit, who would ever use the control pad for steering? L and R work pretty well for boosting, but my god, the control pad is terrible compared to the control stick. These controls take some getting used to, especially if you're used to playing something like Mario Kart, but once you play like 5 races, you'll pretty much have it mastered. Not needing to focus on accelerating makes everything so much easier since your vehicle just automatically accelerates, which I actually didn't know for like a few weeks when I got this game as a kid, so I would just hold up on the control stick to try to speed up, which made everything so much harder. Don't be an idiot like me and you'll be fine. Since this is a Kirby game, you have access to tons of different copy abilities to use during every race, essentially as items. If you press A near an enemy with an ability, Kirby will suck them up and take their ability for a short time, which you can use to attack others. Some are more effective than others, and some last for a much longer time. Like Bomb, you can only use once, while Sword can be used for a pretty long time before you lose it. Pressing A will let you perform long-range attacks with some abilities, but most don't need any buttons and will just attack anything that comes near you. It might sound like that takes all the skill out of it, and you'd be right, but they are still so much fun to use. I wouldn't really say any ability is better than any other, except for Sleep because that one is fucking trash, but all of them are pretty good to use in pretty much every scenario. Every copy ability is available from the start, but there are a lot of things that you can unlock by just simply playing the game. There is a large board of checklist objectives that let you unlock tons of new things. You can get new Kirby colors, new air ride machines. By the way, yes, that is the official name of the vehicles that you use in this game, but it's dumb as fuck, so I will continue to call them vehicles from here on out. And even 2 new characters in Meta Knight and King Dedede. Neither of them can use copy abilities, obviously, but they have their own abilities, so they basically just always have an ability. Both are only usable in 2 of the game's modes, but Kirby Air Ride has a total of 3 game modes to choose from. The 3 modes are called Air Ride, Top Ride, and the only reason to ever play this game, also known as City Trial. And can we talk about Air Ride being a stupid name for a main mode? That's like the main mode of Mario Kart Double Dash being called Double Dash, even though that's the whole point of the entire game. Air Ride is the main mode that you first see when you open the game, and it's just your basic sort of free race mode. You get to compete in a 4-person race on 9 different tracks. You can only play as Kirby to start with, but why would you want to play as anything other than this adorable pink puffball? Or blue puffball? Or red puffball? Or yellow puffball. Okay, I think you get the point. You only start with being able to use the Warp Star for your vehicle, but just playing the mode lets you unlock new vehicles and new Kirby colors from the checklist that I mentioned earlier. All the vehicles have slight differences which make them better for certain courses, with either better speed, better weight, better steering. Basically, there's a vehicle that's better for every stat in the game. The courses you can race on are honestly some of the best I've ever seen in a racing game. They range from a classic grassy course, to a lava level, to icy, to mechanical, and they are all so much fun. For a GameCube game, these courses look amazing and all play just as amazingly. They pretty much all focus on being able to make sharp turns, which might sound repetitive, but that's really not the case. And of all the 9 courses, by far the best one to me is the only unlockable course, Nebula Belt. You need to race 100 laps in Air Ride to unlock it, which really isn't much to ask for. It doesn't have any crazy course design since it's just a figure 8, but it looks cool. You can also compete in a time attack where you just need to finish as many laps as possible in a certain amount of time. And yeah, that's basically it for Air Ride. Just a bunch of Kirbys racing with 2 buttons. Can't get much more simplistic than that. Except for Top Ride. The controls are basically the same, except the camera is top down and the courses are like 10 times shorter and simpler. Even the names of the courses are simple with things like grass, water, fire, so I think that tells you a lot. You can only play as Kirby, but again, that's not really a bad thing. There's also only 2 vehicles to choose from, but there's no reason for there to be more than 2 with something as simplistic as this. There's really nothing else to say. It's just a dumbed down version of Air Ride, and is definitely the least important and least impressive mode of the game. It's not bad or anything, it's just not as good as the others. Now with all that crap out of the way, it's time to go to the only mode that fucking matters. The final mode is City Trial, and is completely different from the other 2 modes in this game. This mode, oh my god, is it incredible! City Trial has you and up to 3 other players riding around on an island to collect power-ups and new vehicles before you all have to compete in a random event. The events range from fighting King Dedede, trying to glide as far as you can, and even something as simple as just a normal drag race. You never know what event you will compete in before it starts, but you will get a hint so you know what items to pick up. The island that you explore is separated into a few different areas all connected with rails. When exploring, you can pick up power-ups to increase one of your stats. They can be scattered around the island or in different boxes that you need to break open. They constantly respawn all over the place, and I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but you have 3 to 7 minutes on the island depending on what you set it to. There's also new vehicles scattered all over the place which you can switch to since the one you start with is just hot garbage. I'm just being honest. Plus, random events like a UFO, meteors, fog, and loads of other things can pop up during the game, which really spices things up. This mode is way better than anything from any Mario Kart game. City Trial is the ultimate game mode to play with your friends. F*** Mario Kart. I'm sorry, Mario. You're just not as cute as Kirby. I've already touched on the graphics, but I just want to say that I really like the art style. It's so bright and colorful and fits Kirby's aesthetic perfectly. And the same goes for the music. Kirby has some incredible themes from all of his games, and Air Ride keeps that trend rolling. Every course has a brilliant theme, but who fucking cares, because Frozen Hillside is the best piece of music in a racing game to ever exist. fight me. I do not care. It is the best theme I have ever heard from a Kirby game, and I will not budge on this topic. Listen to it yourself if you don't believe me. Your life will be changed forever until you play City Trial, because holy shit, the music for that mode is amazing too! I'll never get over City Trial's creativity, music, and just perfection. Even though Kirby never got a main series title for the GameCube like so many other of the major Nintendo franchises, I honestly think he might have one of the best games on the entire system. I know that's a bold take with games like Mario Sunshine, Melee, Wind Waker, Metroid Prime, Star Fox Adventures, Chibi Robo. Okay, some better than others. But Kirby Air Ride is a must-have for anyone's GameCube collection. Of all the racing games I've played in my life, Kirby Air Ride is one of the most unique, simplistic, and well put together games ever. Sure, the menus look like they were stripped straight out of Melee, but who gives a shit, those menus were great. You've never experienced true enjoyment until you play City Trial and your entire world changes. Using only 2 buttons was the best idea they ever had, and it makes this game require much more skill than Mario Kart. There you can just drive backwards, get a bullet bill, and get first every time. But if you make almost any mistake in Air Ride, you are absolutely fucked. The skill and strategy that goes into a single air ride race is pretty impressive for such a simplistic racing game like this, but that only makes it more enjoyable. And you can race in the exact same way, but with just a different camera. How awesome is that? And lastly, there's just this little thing called City Trial. Have you heard of it? I'm not sure if I've brought it up or not. This game is worth the buy for that mode alone. So many people have been advocating for remakes of Mario Sunshine, Metroid Prime, or games like that, but I think we're all overlooking the clear best choice for a remake. Kirby Air Ride deserves a sequel, or a remake at the very least. Unless you want to count Smash Run and Smash 3DS, since it was made by the same creator and it was based on the mode, so it's almost the same thing. We're never getting a remake, are we? Well, at least we'll always have the original. We can watch Kirby ride things, suck enemies, and beat off other people. Wait.